Ladies and gentlemen, Abdullah here once again from Freedom for All. Welcome to another nugget after a long time. Today, I will discuss a quote which reveals the biggest mistake almost everyone makes, even including myself, being a conscious manifester. So let's jump into the quote. Man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. All that befalls a man, all that is done by him, all that comes from him, happens as a result of his state of consciousness. A man's consciousness is all that he thinks and desires and loves, all that he believes is true and consents to. The first sentence is, man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. This means that most people are mistaken in thinking that their life circumstances or results are determined by external factors such as fate, luck, other people, or the world. They do not realize that their own state of consciousness, which is the sum of their internal thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and assumptions, is the only cause of everything that happens to them. Even if they know that consciousness is the only reality, they often don't seem to accept that it is the first and the only cause of everything. But I truly mean, that there is no other cause of anything that happens. There is absolutely no one to blame or even to give the ultimate credit because of anything that happens to our life. The only credit or the only cause goes to our consciousness, infinite consciousness, not the finite conscious mind. The second sentence is, all that befalls a man, all that is done by him, all that comes from him happens as a result of his state of consciousness. Like I mentioned earlier, that everything you experience, everything you see, everything you feel, no matter what it is, comes as a result of your state of consciousness. You may watch something on television, you may hear a good or a bad news that you weren't ready to hear, or let's say you are watching me explain this quote now. Every single thing comes from your state of consciousness, whether you as a person are aware of them or not. Now, a state of consciousness is like the inner awareness of our thoughts, beliefs, sensations, concepts about life, etc. Neville defined a state as the room and consciousness as the house. Room and house are not separated. Rooms exist inside a house. Consciousness as the house is infinite, where there are multiple rooms. But I mentioned a state of consciousness is the inner awareness. By that I want to say it's the type of awareness that you as a human being may not always be aware of, but the infinite being within you, or the being you live within as a human being, is always aware. Many say God consciousness is within human being. While it is absolutely true, but practically it becomes even truer to say that human being is within God consciousness, which I tried to explain in the video called You Are the Light of the Universe. It's linked above. Neville also said, a man's consciousness is all that he thinks and desires and loves, all that he believes is true and consents to. Man's consciousness is the sum of everything that he internally identifies with, values, and accepts as true. It is not only his thoughts and desires, but also his loves, which are the things that he cherishes and enjoys. It is also his beliefs, which are the things that he considers to be true and valid. And it is his consents, which are the things that he agrees to and allows in his life. I want to mention one important thing here, which is beliefs, thoughts, and desires, and everything Neville mentioned in this quote are not the things a limited human mind identifies with. It involves both the things that are found externally, which means that are manifested, and the invisible things the mind of a person may not always be aware of. You can have thousands of thoughts a day because of something you experienced in the outer world, or you may think something to be true because you saw something with your eyes. These are basically the reflections of your past state of consciousness. Until they are accepted to be true internally, they would not matter. in what you would experience in future. Your internal acceptance or internal rejections determine the future. If you choose to decide to have a thought on a specific goal, live from that, which means to accept it to be true internally, then it turns out to be a belief, and subsequently that would be manifested. The important thing to bear in mind is that these are all internal gain, internal motion that makes you experience the psychological drama of life. If I believe all these things are internal things, all these things are internal gain, I would always turn within, knowing that my consciousness is the infinity, no matter what it is I experienced in the external world. This quote made me realize that we people so often are distracted and give reality to the world we experience externally, rather than exploring self internally. Most people are either proud or guilty of their actions or actions taken by other people, thinking that those physical actions are responsible for their success or failure. They do not understand that their actions are only effects of their state of consciousness and not the cause of their results. This, I think, is one of the common mistakes. People are either anxious or regretful of their future or past actions, thinking that they have to do something or they have missed something. They do not realize that their future and past are only projections of their own state of consciousness. To summarize, this quote of Neville Goddard teaches us that we are the creators of our own experiences and that our state of consciousness is the only factor that determines our experience. By changing our state of consciousness, we can change our world. Hoping to see you next week. Bye-bye.